Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from SufferingWell. And I wasn't planning to do a video today, but or to record today. This will be posted probably at more of a regular time. But there's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and David and I have actually been talking about it quite a bit, especially during our prayer time. It just kind of fits in with what we've been praying about. And then my priest preached a homily this last Saturday that fed into it also. And so my mind, this is Monday, and my mind has just been like spinning around this. And I felt like I needed to write it down, but then I thought, no, let's share it with the Suffering Well community and see what you all think. So I'm putting this out here, not so much as teaching as discussing. Okay, so I hope that you will respond in the comments below or email us or whatever, but it would be nice to have a discussion to see what your ideas are about this. It's about the role of discontentment in sin and temptation. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how this all came up with us, but we were talking about like various sins and stuff and struggling with sin and realizing that a lot of times, and possibly all the time, sin, or at least temptation, seems to come from a lack of contentment. For example, in the Garden of Eden, the serpent told Eve, hey, did God tell you can't eat from the fruit of the trees? And oh, he's just trying to keep this from you, and that kind of stuff. And so Eve had a feeling of discontentment. And so she was like, well, no, he just told us we can't eat from this tree. But, the servant pushed more and convinced her that God was withholding something good from her, something that she deserved, that she should have. And so there's that discontentment. And so she took the fruit and she ate. Thinking through all of the 10 commandments, I'm not going to list all of them here, but just let's think of a few of them, and maybe sit down with your Bible, sit down with the 10 commandments and go through them and see how this is true. But, it's like worshiping false gods, which, of course, we don't like bow down to idols or anything like that, but anything that gets in between you and God, anything that you give more of your attention or love to, is an idol. And so, God should permeate everything. He should be at the forefront of everything that we do, ideally. And we can do that. It's not that it's impossible, but it's just that it takes discipline. It takes contentment, really. It takes realizing that, understanding kind of what we've been teaching with these principles lately about suffering, understanding that God knows everything. He has the whole big picture. I don't. I just see this little tiny bit that's right in front of me, and I see my interpretation of the past and what's going on now. But he has the big picture. He sees all of it. He knows it all. He is all powerful. He can do anything that he wants. And so he could give me this thing that I really, really want. But for some reason, he chooses not to. And that's because he loves us. And he chooses what would be best for us and also what would glorify him. And he works it all out for good. So understanding that helps us to be a little bit more contented if we intentionally apply it to that. It doesn't just happen, you guys, when you learn these principles and stuff. It doesn't just happen that changes your life. You have to apply it. And at first it's a lot of work, and then it becomes a little bit more natural. But I really do think that a lot of times Satan tries to like hide it from us. And that's why it's really important to have other people who know the same things that you've been learning, so that they can remind each other of that. And we see that happening in our Suffering Well family. And, we really encourage people to have a prayer partner, somebody who can remind them of those particular principles when they need to come into play. Let's take another obvious example would be like stealing. that's like, I don't have everything. God hasn't provided everything for me that I need. And sometimes it really seems like that, you guys. It really does seem like we don't have everything that we need. But if we trust God, if we really trust him, then we know he has provided us with everything that we need, or he will provide us. And I have had things provided for me in miraculous ways. So here's what I want you to do today, and then we'll talk about this some more another time. I have several different videos probably to do on this, but I want to work us through just one tiny step at a time. And I don't want you to just listen to me. I want you to think of how to apply this yourselves. So here's what I want you to do is I want you to write down, just write it someplace secret, but write down the 5 top sins that you struggle with. And then think about, and maybe even journal about, it's up to you if you're the journaling type, but think about how those show a discontentment with what God has given you, with what he's provided you. Maybe you feel like, hey, I deserve more. Well, then, okay, God gives you what he wants you to have. And there's a question about whether or not that's all that you deserve. It doesn't matter, but we want to have what he wants us to have, and we want to glorify him. So consider how discontentment leads you to those sins, makes you struggle with that temptation. How does the enemy use that discontentment in your life? And we will talk some more later throughout this series about how to use that recognition of discontentment in order to build contentment, in order to build gratefulness, and how those things help us to not only resist sin, but to do the opposite and glorify God. Okay, I love you all. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.